taking part in the 2018 Brazos Valley Business Forum. Please enjoy this breakout session replay recorded by Water to Wine Productions. This video is presented in part by the Bank and Trust.
We're going to go ahead and get started. And there are plenty of seats up in the front. I don't know why everybody's like a Methodist deal as you're moving it all to the back for some reason, but there are plenty of them open here at the front. Here's the thing about this session today. It can be highly interactive, but I just want to start by saying the greatest gift anybody has to give anybody is the gift of time, because we never have enough. And so for you being here today, it means a lot. This also, before we introduce the panelists, I look around and I'm a little bit confused because this topic, we're preaching absolutely to the choir today. It's about becoming plugged into your community. And if you're like me, you get hit up every day about giving to something. And there's just so much airtime that we can give, and there's so much that we allocate to budget, to give to organizations. And when you get hit up from a coverage area of 16 counties, it gets a little bit rough. But what you do at home matters. And I want you to hear in a very serious moment, you guys have a servant's heart, or you would not be here. I have a very clear perspective because for 20 plus years, this was my home. It's where my kids went to school, and then with a decision not of my own, there was a retirement within the company. And what that usually means is, we're going to double up on your work and save some salary in the process. So what happened was that I was plucked out of my happy little life, and I was sent to handle KWTX in Waco as well, in addition to KBTX, because I had a knowledge of the market. What it did was to affirm everything that I had thought, and I promise you, it was not a brainwashing situation. This is one of the finest communities in the country. And as fast as I can get back home, I hate this thing is going to be online because I cannot have the Waco crew to know this. But as soon as I could get back home, I would. Now, do you find your way? Absolutely. The only thing that's separating what happens there with the economy and here is that interstate. I can tell you right now. That's what keeps it so diverse. So I do have a little bit of a different perspective. It's what I've learned, more about what I've been affirmed. There's not a day that goes by I don't miss you guys. But here's the little thing about karma. I remember at all these events I get to MC, I used to tell this joke, and some of you may have heard it before. I'd spot Donis Baggett in the audience, who got transferred from the Eagle up there for a while. Do you remember Donis? Editor. Not a lick of sense, but that's a different deal. So anyway, I'd see Donis or anybody from Waco, and I would say, well, you know what they say about Waco, if you're diagnosed with only 3 months to live, move there because it seemed like a whole lot longer. Well, I don't use that silly joke anymore. I've stopped it because karma rose up and got me. There are good things about every community, and I want you to know that you find your way, but be affirmed in what you stand for. This community is great because of people like you. I'd like for these guys to briefly introduce themselves, tell you what they do, and then we're going to get right to the discussion. I would like to keep it interactive. Let's keep it moving so no one's checking on their cell phone every 5 seconds, and I will call you out if I see you doing that, Jeff Cap, so put it down. All right, let's go. I'm kidding. Jose, you go right ahead.
Howdy. I'm Alison Prince. I'm the president and CEO of United Way of the Brazos Valley. I've been working with United Way for just about 10 years and has in the CEO role for about 4. United Way is all about fighting for our community and fighting for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in our community. We have been serving the Brazos Valley region for 65 years, providing grant funding to nonprofits. And I have 2 of our partners in the room. Wave your hands in the middle of the room. Sorry, ladies, I called you out. Providing grant funding as well as programmatic support through to nonprofits across the region.
Howdy, I'm Hannah Cole. I work for Mays Business School as the academic advisor.
Don't be embarrassed, there's seats right here. Everybody, hello, Shelley.
Hi, Shelley. I'm the academic advisor for the Department of Marketing at Mays Business School. I'm here as the president for Young Professionals of Aggieland. We provide young professionals in the town a place to get involved in the community, as well as professional development and engagement with other young professionals in town.
I feel like I know pretty much everyone in this room, so thank you for having me here today. just for those 3 persons that I haven't met yet, I am the founder, president of a company in downtown Bryant that is into community and economic development. We do have a number of community engagement spaces in downtown, the Ice House being one of those, the Stafford Theater, also a gallery in downtown. And our mission is really to be able to improve the quality of life of our community, but we are a for-profit company. So very few of you probably know this, but we do help other communities. We have about 35 other communities here in Texas that we help, and then some communities overseas and in other states. And one of the reasons we love downtown Bryant is because 7 years ago we decided that we were traveling too much, and we felt that if we just focus and invest in downtown, we can create an educational, what we call an experiential campus, where everything is a real thing, and community members, community leaders from other cities can come and just learn from our mistakes and our successes. Thank you.
I would like to start, first of all, with Hannah, and here's the reason why. Hannah's a relative newcomer to the community. How many of you have been here less than 4 years? Very few. And I'm curious to know your take from the outside looking in. They say it's hard to explain the culture, and it kind of is, which is what we're talking about today. Hannah, how did you find the community to be as far as welcoming, and what did you get involved in first? Was it YPA? Give us a bit of your story. Where did you come here from first?
Okay, so I am from Victoria, Texas. I went to school at Stephen F. Austin, so I moved here for a job at the university. I was working for an African-American literary journal called Callaloo. I was doing Spanish and Portuguese translations. And then I got engaged in the student side of things, and Maze has been wonderful. I love working with that side of things, but working with students and being fairly young myself, I wanted to find young professionals in town and knew there had to be some people there. So one of my coworkers, or a few of my coworkers, said, you need to get involved in Young Professionals of Aggieland. So I did. I went to it was like the 4th or 5th anniversary party. And so I went to that and I met people. I got engaged and started I joined the board that first year, and so I've been on the board ever since, and I've just loved it because it's given me that connection of young professionals in town and made me feel welcomed and at home, and given me like friends in a community here.
Right. I always wonder how the community reacts. It's hard to break into some areas more than others, but I think we're welcoming. And people like her will affirm that you have got a welcome reception, even though, and I'm not being funny, even though you didn't go to A&M.
Oh yeah, for
Right.
sure, yeah.
Because I didn't either, and I think most of you know that. My wife did go to A&M. I have Macy, who's just been accepted, class of 2023. So she'll be headed this direction. The other one will be headed to Tarleton. So always curious about that. Allison, you depend on community involvement. I mean, to make your organization go.
Absolutely.
And I like the talk about status quo-ville.
Yeah.
You know, because if you don't get involved and continue to help grow the area and the region, then we're just going to die on the vine. That's how those types of communities work. Talk about the importance of people being involved and how dependent you are.
Well, you know, we live and breathe, like you said, with interdependence and throughout the community, whether it's from volunteer grant reviewers or donors or board members or volunteers that are at different efforts. We can't survive without the support of the community, and it's not always just monetary. Of course, monetary for any nonprofit is the life, the bread and butter of how we make things happen in the community and how we make an investment in the community. But it's also through board service, volunteer service, engaging in understanding what the nonprofit organizations in the community, which ones exist, what their needs are, and then how you can connect and engage. And I always say, whether I'm talking about financially giving to an organization or getting involved in an organization, you have to do it where you're passionate. I'm very passionate about United Way's mission, and my job is to share that with the community. But whether it's a different, whatever it is to you, whatever speaks to you, and wherever you feel like you can fit in is really where an organization can use you and can capitalize on that the best, I think.
Let's go a little bit deeper. Jose,
Sure.
How many employees do you actually have?
We have only 12 full-time employees and about 35 part-time students. And
And we have to use a microphone because this is being recorded the whole time. That may work better.
Awesome.
I'm not smart with electronical stuff like this. Jose, talk about the importance of encouraging your staff to get involved, because you may be the face of the organization, but you can't do everything alone. How are they involved in the community?
So in our particular case, we need always make sure that everybody understands our mission. Everybody understands that we're here to serve our community. So that's kind of fairly simple, kind of oversimplifying the concept. But we do need to make sure that we provide the opportunities for our staff to interact and to support their love causes. So in our case, though, we're kind of a different animal, per se, because we do have a lot of companies that actually work with us. So we have this business and technology incubator. We have about 58 small businesses. Some are just one person, some are 14 persons. And they kind of, from the very beginning, understand that our mission then has to be adopted by them as well. So that's where we start kind of creating more kind of a gravitational pull to the different efforts that we are supporting.
Hannah, I'm coming back to you on this question, but he brings up a good point, because I think that everybody in this room possesses at some level a servant's heart. I mean, you know firsthand, if you don't get involved, you're not going to get anything really out of your time here. It's not about coming here and just making a living. It's about coming here and making a life for yourself. And without getting involved at a deeper level, you're not going to be fulfilled. And I've always used the term that fed sheep don't stray. And so if you're being fed while you're here and being involved in seeing the end result of what you do, you don't do it expecting something feel good or an award to come your way. You do it because it's right. Hannah, I'm curious, what may be one of the big rewards from YPA? I know you guys try to dive in at a deeper level to several organizations. What's been a rewarding aspect of that? Not to put you on the spot, but if you had to cite a couple of things you say, hey, this really was good for the group to be involved in, what would that be?
So through our professional or our community service, we do a lot of things around in the community. So one of the things that I really enjoy is the Rotary Club. We deliver Thanksgiving Day baskets, and so that's always been an exciting and fun, rewarding thing to do. The other thing that I really enjoy about it, and one reason that I'm super passionate about it, is because I love people. I'm super extroverted. I need this community engagement, and so it's rewarding to bring in new people that are new to town and help them get engaged and in different nonprofits or around the community, as well as professional development, and see them kind of network and grow through the organization.
I got to ask, Alison, are you involved in it? You have to be, but I know it's a competitive landscape among the nonprofits.
Sure is,
I mean,
yeah.
it's no different than the businesses we run day to day. But are you involved in other things in the community that you say, yeah, this is really something that I have found rewarding?
You know, it kind of comes in waves of yes and no to that answer. You know, and yes, we are competitive. I just want to address that first. Yes, I think there's a competition. If we're all competing for the same group of donor dollars, but something that United Way really strives to do with our partners is to build a network of nonprofits working together. That it breaks down that. Well, our mission is better than yours. It's not necessarily a competition of whose mission is better. It's that each mission is critical to address the issues in our community. Because while downstairs we were talking about how wonderful economic growth has been in our community, there still are major issues. There's issues with poverty, there's issues with education, and we're all working in our own unique ways and in our own areas where we are subject matter experts, but yet working together makes us better, and having that connection makes us better. So joining with United Way, whether it's directly with United Way or one of our partners, makes a stronger community in total because we're working together. Personally, yes, I've been involved in a variety of different things. I've been involved with Junior League. I've been involved with through my church and things like that. Some of it is a time commitment. Being an executive director of a nonprofit, my friends in the room can say this, that it's more than a full-time job, and sometimes there's not a lot of time to get involved elsewhere. But I think that it's also about what I said before and following your passion. Something I want to speak on just real quickly on volunteering in the community. You know, we have interactions with a lot of companies throughout the community because of our fundraising model that we raise money through workplaces. And we get a lot of questions about volunteering. How can I volunteer? And something is for business leaders to consider is, yes, those volunteer experiences are really critical. Does your company offer a volunteer policy for employees to allow them some time to go volunteer in the community? But one of the biggest challenges for nonprofits is we get this group of 30 people and we're like, we want a one-day project for 30 people. That can sometimes be very challenging for us. We can accommodate it a lot of times, but something that is the lifeblood of nonprofits is continual volunteerism. So when you think about it, think about encouraging your employees and those around you to get involved and stay involved with an organization and be willing to come out week after week, whether it's through the schools or whether it's through a specific nonprofit. That's critical to us, and it's a blessing to have those one-day events, but it's also a challenge for us because we don't always have a product in which you can come help with on one day, but sometimes interactions are critical over the long haul.
Jose, I'm coming to you, and this next question, I wish we had time for all of you to have some input. It'd be a great survey to tell. But Hannah, I first want to compliment you, ask one of the most rewarding times for YPA. You did not mention happy hour at Carney's, and we thank you for that. I thought that would have been on there somehow. Jose, let's talk a little in your opinion here, just briefly from the panel. I want to know that what are some of the current aspects of our community that if more people got involved, you believe it would be a game changer for the future? Where do you believe a couple of our greatest needs are right now?
You know, I think that's a very difficult question because I have never heard any negative comments about our community. We've been doing this.
Call Jeff Capps and anybody with the city of Bryan. I think they can give you a few.
You know, all the visitors that come to see us, they love our community. Actually, just as a short story, with the help of the city of Bryan, we sponsored a international artist in residence program about 5 years ago, and I was a little nervous because the person that got the award, the artist, she's from Amsterdam, and I was thinking, man, you know, she's gonna come to downtown Bryan, and she's coming from this amazing city. I hope she likes it. And I mean, within 48 hours, our community, I mean, not just downtown, but Bryan College Station, our community welcomed her with open arms. She had a fantastic experience. She fell in love with our town, and now she comes back once a year. So just that to say that I think if we just continue to do what we're doing as far as our hospitality, our true Texas-friendly spirit, we have a remarkable community. And again, this is just from all the comments, all the positive comments that I received from visitors, from investors that come from out of town looking for opportunities. That's looking pretty good.
So let's go back this way and go to Allison. Tell me what you think we should do better. What particular area do you think would improve the quality of life here?
Well, I think that we have a pretty nice quality of life for the most part in Bryan College Station and throughout the Brazos Valley region. I think that if everybody does a little bit, it doesn't take a lot to change things. And I think for the most part, we have a very active body of people. But I think sometimes for young professionals, it can be hard to find that place. And I think that's what YPA does such a great job in connecting people. And so it's, in some ways, it can be a little lost of how do I find the right place. I'd be happy to help you find the right place where you want to engage. And I think any of our nonprofit partners would be happy to find that right place where you can engage. But I think everybody engaging a little bit. Same thing with giving. I think that you know, as a nonprofit executive director, I can't have a stage about engagement and not talk about giving. Whether you give a lot or a little, it doesn't make a difference. Of course, nonprofits love $10,000 gifts, but $10,000 gifts don't have to be made. You know, United Way, we say $1 a week, $5 a week. It really does add up, and it really does make a difference. And if you want to find some people who are good at pinching pennies and making dollars stretch as far as they can, ask a nonprofit executive, because that's our life every day is we're trying to figure out how to make things work on not very much. So a little gift can go a very long way because we believe in our mission, and we just want to share that with you. So if you have a passion, if you have something that you want to get involved in, just speak up and step in there. We don't generally turn people away with, I want to help you. We're not like, nah, we don't need your help, we're good. We're generally like, yes, please come along and help us. I think things I've seen lately is serving on committees. I think companies more and more are asked to do more with less employees, and that can be a huge challenge. And so as a business leader, when you are encouraging your employees to get involved, giving them the time so that they can stay involved, because so often I know people have the best of intentions and they want to serve on a committee, and then they don't want to tell you that they can't fulfill that commitment. And so they kind of, in some ways, we feel a little strung along sometimes. It's like, you know, it's fine. If you can't, that's fine. Just step away. But at the same time, being able to actively engage and stay engaged and fulfill commitments is important to us. And it takes, if your employer is supportive, in working with a lot of employers, the employers that are supportive of that, it absolutely can see, whether it's board membership or serving on an event committee or something like that, when the employer says, you're gonna be involved in this, or yes, I bless you to be involved in this, and then they're given the time and the freedom to do that, that's a really important part of the process to make it successful.
Hannah, it runs the gamut for experience in the community. I'm curious to know what someone with a 4-year history with the area may have noticed to say, you know, this is an area that we've been exposed to that probably needs a little more help. What would your opinion be?
You know, I want to second what Allison was saying about getting involved and really just going and without any kind of connection or anything, getting involved in making those connections. I think that's really important. As far as in the community, I think for millennials and for my peer group, the thing that's missing is other millennials and young professionals in town. And so that's why I think that young professionals and just going and getting involved without having someone push you or walk you down there hold you by the hand, taking you somewhere is really important.
I want to attest to something here that goes back into one of our questions we had a moment ago about feeling, I guess, rewarded for what you do. Again, nobody does anything in this room expecting to receive accolades for it. We're very cautious every year in the thank you ads that we place about food for families. There's nothing there that says, hey, look what we have done, look at this. It's always, we thank the Brazos Valley for responding. Because without them responding, nothing happens. And I think having been involved in the first food drive, I can remember the emotions I felt when this family drove up some 10 years after it started, maybe, and they were giving back because they had been on the food bank list and had received for so many years. Well, that is an investment back into the community, and you just never know what battles people are fighting. You don't know what a little gesture may mean. It could have been your bag of groceries or whatever it was, could have been monetary that you donated, that made a difference in that person's life. That's a little unseen reward and goes to that phrase I've used before that says the blessing you never see is the one you leave in your wake. I mean, you invest in the community and you get a whole lot back when you do that. I want to talk a little bit about the potential return on investment. And I know this is a business conference and it sounds odd, but I will tell you, I think personally, if we have an honest show of hands, how many of your businesses are better off because you've invested in some way and donated of your time? Anybody in here? Yes. I think the quickest way a new business can get involved, and if we have the honor, and Mary Mike will tell you, you know, when you get a new client that's going to come on the air and do something, I know what we do. We say, look, first thing is, how can you get involved in the community? Because that's where you're going to meet people. Is it the business after hours? Is it signing up for conferences like this? Is it going to a fundraiser like, I don't know, Heartball, You're the Tops? There are plenty of opportunities and places to plug in. But would you say, Jose, talk about the importance from the business bottom line that is maybe an unexpected result of your investment in the community?
So I have a very specific example. I wanted to first mention that we look at ROI in a conventional way, you know, return on investment, but we also refer to ROI as a return on intervention. When you really step up and do something for your community, for your friends, for people that need the support, and all you have to do is ask at the end of the meeting, when you meet somebody new in town, or a visitor, just ask them, hey, how can I serve you? How can I help you improve your quality of life? And so we have a specific process that we produce every 2 years. Hopefully some of you are gonna be able to attend. Our next one is scheduled for next year, where we just ask our friends. Usually we only get a couple of hundred people that attend those meetings, but they always help us decide what do we need to do first to kind of improve the quality of life. So a very specific example, we invested a ton of money that we did not have on a little place called the Stafford Theater. We wanted to save the place because it's the oldest building in downtown. It's about 166 years old, the front part of it. Then the back was added later, so the full the back of the theater is only about 100 years old. But the building was in very bad shape, and two kids came to us and said, Jose, you know, they're gonna tear down the building, we need to save it, and we have this idea about a live music venue, and look, we're gonna make a ton of money, and all this other stuff. So they asked for our support, and they say, and you know, if you invest a little bit, you know, we can raise it. So our commitment was to invest 10% of the project, and then they were gonna raise funds. Well, we ended up having to invest 100% of the project. And again, money we didn't have really budgeted for. But you know, we saved the building. It was great. Our community loved it. We were able to actually make that accessible to nonprofits, to corporations. It's been a great place to have fun, but also it's a lecture hall. Anyway, I truly believe that because we did that and because of the work that we've done on other older buildings, when our friends from the city of Bryan came to us and kind of suggested, hey, you guys should look at the Ice House. It will be great if you can replicate that model at the Ice House on Main Street. And you know, how can you put value on a beautiful 100-year-old building like that? It's a 20,000 square foot facility. That's return on investment, I think, okay?
Yeah, I want to give that to Allison. I'm curious on her take there, but that Ice House project and what has gone on down there, we take recruits from the TV station. That's one of the places they have dinner is in downtown Bryan. I want them to see that. I want them to see Northgate. If we can get them on Kyle Field, sometimes we can sell them. This is where they be, even when they don't like football. Being out there on that field is a little bit intimidating. But for the investment in the Ice House, and the Stafford, by the way, needs a marker on it. That's where Billy Graham and Brenda Sims had their first date back in the day. Was at the Stafford Theater. Just kidding. Allison, I'm kidding. She never dated Billy Graham, to my knowledge. But I accuse her of it every time I see her. So anyway, Allison, talk a little bit about maybe firsthand return on your involvement, because you become the face of United Way. People know who you are, and I got to think that helps when determining where people give their support.
Sure. You know, I think of the social services that we provide as not necessarily as a service or through our partners that they provide, but as just humanity, is just taking care of each other, because yes, some of them have income requirements. You have to fall below certain levels, but others are just there because whether you plan it or not, life happens sometimes, and all of a sudden you can find yourself just kind of going through a rough time. And personally, that happened to me a few years ago, where my family, small family, my husband, my son, and I were going through, you know, just some rough times, and needed some additional help. And it wasn't necessarily a financial-based rough time. It was just some emotional stuff that was going on. And within a 24-hour period, my family accessed 2 of the very services that I help to provide every single day. And it's something that I never thought we were going to need. You never think that that's going to be there. But in that moment, it was just humanity. There was no question about why do you need this, or a judgment on, you know, what's going on in your life. It was just, you know, it's here, take advantage of it, see if you qualify for it. And then we moved on, and we've moved to a much better place. And those moments reinforce for me what I do this for. And I was having a conversation with one of our executive directors the other day, and we were talking about something, and I said, you know, I don't come to work every day, and I didn't mean this as a knock to her, but I said, I don't come to work every day to fight for the 22 partners that are here, the agency executive directors, the partners that are here. I come to work every day because I'm fighting for the people that those sitting at the table are representing. It's every single person in our community, and we mean that every person. It doesn't necessarily just mean those that have fallen on hard times for one reason or another, but it's that a lot of us live 1 or 2 days, major crises away from needing some of the very services that our programs provide. And knowing that that's there, knowing that there's in some ways a safety net in our community, reinforces me in what I do every single day, and says there's absolutely a mission for our work, and it's not done yet. I challenge our partners all the time that we should be in the business of putting ourselves out of business. If we look at our missions that way, that it's not about feeding the hungry. It's about trying to make it that the hungry no longer are hungry. It's not about getting jobs for people, but it's making sure that people have the education and the ability to get a job so that they no longer need a homeless shelter or something like that. You know, of course, I think that's a pretty lofty goal that you can roll your eyes at and say, okay, we're really not going to solve these social issues because they're a lot bigger than us. But I think if we come at our work from a very different place, when you come at it with that intention of we're trying to put ourselves out of business, we're trying to make it that these programs are no longer needed in our community.
Hannah, I know this, again, this is one of those unfair questions, but when you get here as a newcomer, you had to plug in, and now people probably know who you are. You don't work for a for-profit day-to-day that you rely on retail, that you rely on things like that. But I got to think for people understanding what you do and getting your name out there, I don't know what your aspirations are, but getting involved from day one has opened a lot of doors for you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and I think through YPA and the connections and network that people who are involved as well, it's been really helpful just meeting different nonprofits in the community and getting to know different business people in the community. It's helpful to engage and have, you know, I've made these friendships and these friends, but then I can also call on them and we can work together through these friendships that we've joined.
One of the questions that wrapped up just said what they wanted to cover as we start to wind down here was about what it does for employee morale. And on behalf of the entity and the station I represent, I will tell you what warms my heart is to see postings on Facebook and pictures of the crew that's participated in something like Hog Splash, or they got dressed up and went to the Hispanic Forum together. And you see different groups that go there. I know that they're being rewarded. I know that morale is improved because they had a chance to step out and to know what this community is really about and to interact with many of you. And so that's what makes them stay longer. I mean, the main crew has just re-signed for another 3 years. You might not think that's a big deal, but to keep people in positions here in a market where they go to Houston, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio next, to have them in the chair here 6, 7, and 8 years at a time, that's a long time. Now, some re-signed that I wish would go on, but we're going to put up with them another 3 years. I mean, we all know. But anyway, I will tell you, that's a testament to the community. If they didn't like living here, they'd be out. Now, granted, we've tried to up salaries a bit, but they love it because of who you are and not what you are. Before we wind down, I just want to make sure we covered, I think we covered the topics that were laid before us here, but does anybody have a question or an observation? There's clearly nothing off the table, and the reason I love talking to you guys, Bobby, except for you, put your hand down. Now, I'll say the reason I like talking to you guys is there is no filter. we kind of know we kind of know each other, and we have for a very long time, and I love these open discussions where we can candidly talk about the community. It's about going to the doctor. I use this analogy a lot. When you go get a checkup, they don't say, oh, you're 99% good, and pat you and you move on your way. They're going to focus on that 1% little spot that they may find that they know can bring the entire body down. That's a type of inspection you should be doing on businesses every day to find out, don't pat yourself on everything that's going great. Focus on that, which can compromise the integrity of what you're doing. And that's what this conference is about. You guys are the involved party. But how are we going to take it and motivate? Bobby, floor is yours. What's on your mind? Let me come to you with a mic since this is being recorded. No, they told me to do that. So,
well, I've been trying to figure out a way to get a little bit more involved in the community, and I was challenged by Alison and Tammy over there for United Way, so I was kind of voluntold that I had to go over the edge and challenged by Jim Lewis over here from Village Pharmacy. So if you guys are looking for a place to give some money, we are, check our Facebook page out because both Jim and I are challenging each other who could raise the most amount, and I think we have Dustin from Downtown Elixir also is in that thing. So check all of our stuff out, and Steve over there back in the back. But for Over the Edge, United Way does a great job. And to get involved in this community, believe me, I've lived here all my life, decided probably 15 years ago that, it's time to start getting involved and, participate in what's done so great for our family. And it has been a tremendous ride. I feel like very blessed to be part of a community that has given so much to us. So by all means, do everything you can to get involved.
Bobby loves this community so much, he let me know before this forum, free tires for everybody as soon as you need them. How about that? That's awesome. Jim?
When I moved here about 15 or 16 years ago, I was in the office business, and I started going to chamber business after hours and things of that sort, and joined the Rotary Club, and really didn't have any intention of getting involved in any other types of businesses, but then had a situation where I ended up buying one of my tenants' businesses, and so I bought the old apple tree store and converted it to Village Foods. And I did a ribbon cutting there, and I'd been to plenty of ribbon cuttings, but when we did our ribbon cutting, the entire parking lot was completely full. People were driving around Briarcrest trying to figure out where to park and so on. And my mom had flown out, and I flew my mom out to see it. And she said, these people didn't come to see a grocery store, they came to see you. And that's when it hit me that, I'd been doing all these things without any intention of ever getting anything back. I had some time I felt like I could contribute to the community, but you just never know how your life is going to turn. And all of a sudden you might be the one who's getting paid back for all that you've put in. And I think life kind of works that way anyway, right? The more you put in, the more you get back. And so this community definitely gives it back, and it has over and over and over again in my business. And so I thank you all.
All right, any final comment before we wrap up here? Anybody? I'm sorry, yes. Mary Mike. By the way, she was just inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. Not kidding. She deserves it.
Shameless plug. I used to work with this guy 42 years ago in Corsicana, Texas. My question is for Hannah. Some of my contemporaries and colleagues are members of YPA. I don't think I qualify anymore because it's an age thing. So tell me about your requirements, and then tell me how you recruit, if you would. And thanks, panel. Great panel. Hannah?
Yeah, so we say 40 is our cap. But
How many of you out? Just see a show of hands. 40.
We
Steve?
never kick anyone out. If people want to come and join, we always encourage them to come and hang out with us. As far as trying to get our name out there and our word out there, we use a lot of word of mouth. We also have Facebook, and we try and invite people to all of our events through Facebook. And then we partner and go to different events around town and to different businesses, and just talk to everyone there. So I think it's mainly word of mouth and Facebook.
Yes. Catherine?
So I would like to ask, when I worked for a nonprofit a while ago, it used to really count big towards, especially when you were going for grants and so forth, about volunteer hours and how many volunteers you had. Is that still a big deal? Do y'all still track that? Do you see?
I think, yes, it still does. Grants ask a variety of different questions. There's no one grant application that's the same. I think there's probably a coalition of us that would love for one standardized grant application. But yes, they still do volunteer hours. I'm filling out something to United Way Worldwide, my annual report that I have to send to them, and they ask how many volunteers and what's the value. There's now a way also to value your volunteer time, so nonprofits can put that into an actual quantitative number in order to do that and to be able to promote that, yeah.
Linda, I think you had one final comment here. All right, I'm going to wrap it up.
Hannah, for your age group, do y'all find that there's entertainment stuff for you to do for your age level? A lot of stuff is geared towards the student market, or maybe for us older folks. Are y'all finding your niche here in College Station and Bryan, that you have places to go, you have places to hang out, that you find your own comfort areas?
Yeah, so I think, talking about with Jose and the downtown Bryan, that's one area that's been really good, and just really getting all the events and the music venues and stuff coming out in that area has been really helpful, I think. I know one thing that I would say is missing in town is some of the outdoor activities, kayaking, especially like Lake Bryan and stuff. If there were more for us to actually do and go out there, I think my generation enjoys being outside and getting active and hiking. So there's a little bit of that lacking, but I have seen, since I've been here in the 4 years, it has really grown, and a lot of things have come to town, and so that's been really fun to see.
I want to wrap up but with just a couple of quick things for you. First, to dovetail on what Mary Mike said, it was 1976, when I was 15 years old, that I got a job in Corsicana, Texas, in the middle of a cow field where the tower was. On a radio station called KCIR, and she's one of the first people I met. She just graduated from Sam Houston State. And this relationship has lasted a lifetime. But during that time, there was a song that was played called Who's Gonna Fill Their Shoes by the old possum George Jones, one of the greatest country songs ever written. I look around and I see the faces of people like Royce, Steve, John, Mary Mike, others that have been in this business for a very long time of being part of this community. And today, in my opinion, is not about us. Today, in our opinion, is about people like Hannah and the new breed coming up, because frankly, if they're not ready to fill our shoes, if they're not ready to take it to another level, then we have failed as a community to lead them, to get them involved so that they can take it to the next step. Every day, I hope to take a piece of Bryan College Station with me, and for whatever contribution, I know I was taking a little shot earlier, which I halfway meant but didn't, and that is you find a life wherever you are. A piece of you goes with me every day, and I hope to leave that job, whatever the day is, a little bit better because what I have learned from you, because there was a time I was down here at the beginning of a career in 1990. And for those of you that have kids, for those of you in a life, when you think about how fast this time has gone, what an incredible ride. And I will tell you now, don't take for granted this moment in time, because what we have in Bryan and College Station collectively and with Texas A&M, opportunities like this don't come along very often, and sometimes only once. I believe we're blessed to be here. There was a post Rusty Surrett made on his Facebook page not long ago that caused me to think, and it may have come from somewhere else, but it said, one day, a group of kids went out to play together for the very last time, and no one knew it. Well, this is our play yard right now. Give it all you got, and make sure that you leave this community better than when you found it. Hannah, Allison, Jose, it's been awesome spending time with you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you.
Our thanks to Water to Wine Productions for recording this breakout session replay from the 2018 Brazos Valley Business Forum. This video was presented in part by the Bank and Trust. More information on the Brazos Valley Economic Development Corporation and its mission can be found at brazosvalleyedc.org. We also invite you to be part of Invest Brazos Valley, the BVEDC's private sector voice in growing our community.